it's Jennifer from Fiber Flux. Welcome to the 2018 Fiber Flux Granny Stashdown project. This is a project that I was thinking about doing for a while because I have so much yarn, odds and ends sitting around. I have a lot of balls of yarn that I've used for projects, and I have just a little bit left and not sure what to do with. So what I did was, over the holiday break, I went through all of my yarn and I created kind of a color scheme. So I have here some pinks, purples, and blues, and some white cream colors. So kind of like a cool palette with the addition of a little bit of pink as well. So what I did was I put everything in this big basket that you see here, and what I want to do is make a granny square, but just keep going and going and adding more yarn until it's a large blanket. And I plan on working on this all throughout the year. Now, I know many of you have shared with me the size of your yarn stashes as well, and the fact that, you need to do projects that use up yarn. So this is a really wonderful project to use up some of those odds and ends, and at the end you'll have a beautiful granny square blanket. So granny squares are really easy to make if you've never made one before, and later on in the video I'm going to show you exactly how to do it stitch by stitch, and we're going to use all of this yarn that I've collected here. So what I did when I was collecting yarn, I didn't just grab anything. I went through and I pulled out yarn, like I said before, that was part of this kind of pink, purple, blue palette. Now, if you want to do like a rainbow theme, you can, anything you want. If you have all of the same color, I mean, I really just have so many odds and ends here of all different shades of pink, purple, and blue. And then I wanted to add some of the white and the off-white to sort of brighten it up a little bit. But as you can see, it's like total, like there's some serious like yarn tangles here, but I plan on using every last bit of this. And then I might, when I go through this yarn, if you want your blanket to be bigger, you can revisit your yarn stash and look for some more. But the challenge here is to use what you have. I really want to try this year in 2018 to use up what I already have before I go out and purchase more. Now, obviously, sometimes we have a project and we need to get something specific, but I really wanted to make it a point this year to use up all this stuff that's just kind of sitting around. So that being said, the other thing I did, in addition to color, when I was making my basket choice, I just kind of filled up a basket, and I'm going to work with what's in here, was I tried to pick yarn that's of a similar weight. So I picked mostly worsted weight yarn. Now there's a couple here, like this one, that's a little bit chunkier, just a little bit chunkier. It's not too much chunkier, but you can easily kind of integrate that if it's all basically the same yarn weight. So I tried to stick with just worsted weight yarn. Some of it might be a little thinner, some of it again might be a little chunkier, but it really will blend together nicely. If you don't want to go super bulky, and obviously I don't want to like integrate sock yarn into this unless you want to hold it double or something like that. So that being said, for my hook, I'm going to be using a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. That's what I know this yarn in particular and this yarn in particular recommends. Some of these other ones recommend a J hook. One or two of them recommends an I hook. So it'll be a little bit more drapier for those colors. But I wanted to pick a chunky hook and just work up a really nice, pretty blanket in these colors that I chose. So that being said, for part one, have fun checking out your own yarn stash and seeing what you have. Variegated yarns like this one, or the self-striping rather, work up very nicely in granny squares because they just kind of change colors as you go. And I'm going to show you both how to, one of two things, how to add a new color on or a new yarn on, but also how to keep going if you want to stick with the same color as well. So it's slightly different when you're making a granny square. You'll also need a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors. Now normally I recommend a ruler or tape measure, but you're literally going to work up your granny square until it's the size you like. So it'll be a nice big square if you like it to be, or it can be a throw if you don't really have a lot of yarn to use up. It's totally your choice. The object of this challenge is to use up what you have. So let's get started on the granny square portion of our tutorial. Okay, so I went in and grabbed some yarn. This is kind of a navy blue, so it fits into our blue, pink, purple scheme here. And what we're gonna do, I deliberately grabbed a little bit of yarn that I didn't have too much of in my pile here, because I'm going to show you later on how to switch colors and how to move on. Now you can even do it in the middle of a row. You can simply just tie the new piece on and keep going and kind of worry about the ends later. So let's grab our yarn over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a slip knot on our hook to begin. Now this is just a classic granny square that we'll be doing. If you have another square that you like better, or if you want to do like a solid granny square or integrate other stitches, or you have other squares that you enjoy making, please feel free to do that as well. The name of the game is to use up the yarn and have a beautiful square blanket at the end, no matter what square you choose. But I love granny squares. If you watch the Fiber Flux YouTube channel, I use granny squares all the time. So what we're going to do is wrap the yarn around our fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop and tighten. We now have a slip knot on our hook. Okay, so next what we're going to do is chain 4. So to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, then what we're going to do is in the chain farthest from our hook, we're going to insert our hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook, and now we have the circle that we're going to be working into. Granny squares are worked in the round. Okay, so see this tail here? We can hold that along the edges we work, and that will weave that in as we go along as well. So next what we're going to do is chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to work 3 double crochet into the center of the ring. So let me slide that yarn out of the way. Okay, so to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1 double crochet, and we need a total of 3. So 1, and then 2, and 3. Okay, next we're going to chain 1. So chain 1, and then work 3 more double crochet into the center of the ring. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to chain 1, and then 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1 once again. Okay, so we're coming around here. We have 1 group, 2 group, and 3 groups. Now remember that chain 4 at the beginning of the round that we did? The first 3 chains of that chain 4 count as one of our double crochets, and then that 4th chain works the same as these chain 1s that are in between the groups. So for this last set, we're going to just work 2 double crochet. So 1 and 2, because we're going to be borrowing these as one of our double crochets as well. Okay, so count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a slip stitch into that 3rd chain up to close up the round. So insert the hook into that 3rd chain up, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. Okay, so round 1 is complete. We're going to continue working through the granny square tutorial, and then when we happen to run out of yarn, I'm going to show you just how to get the next one started. Okay, so the color, based on the amounts of yarn you have of each color, and like this one is self-striping, the color is going to either change quite rapidly if you have a small ball of yarn, or you might have the same color for a while, but it'll look very random. But because we're kind of using a palette, a set of colors, it'll kind of bring it together. Okay, now this first situation, when you want to go to another round and stick with the same color, later we're going to learn how to do when you want to switch colors. But in this case, we're going to stick with the blue, so I'm just going to slip stitch over to that first space. See that first space we have? Now it looks sort of circular right now, but if we kind of like pull these chain 1 spaces out, it's going to start looking like a square, kind of like a little plus sign. Okay, so work a slip stitch into that first space that you come to, Bring that loop through that loop, already on your hook. And now we're in the right spot to begin round 2. Okay, so now that our hook is in the right spot, we're going to begin round 2 by doing a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now work 2 double crochet into the same space. 1 and 2. This is the corner space that we're working first. Okay, and then if you need to slide things over a bit, chain 1, and then in the same space, we're going to work 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so our first corner is complete. Okay, now we're going to hop over and we're going to work the next corner. So chain 1, and in that corner we're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that next corner is starting to look more and more like a square. So we're getting more of a flat side here. Now let me just... Now I wanted to put out a word of warning. When you work with yarn scraps, a lot of times you'll run into tangles. When you buy like a fresh new ball of yarn, it's nicely wound, but after you've been working with your yarn, you know, you're gonna have a lot of stuff like this when you're trying to de-stash. So just be patient. And a lot of times if it's a tiny little ball of yarn and the knot is really awful, I'll just use it for filling, for amigurumi or a pillow or something. So you can still use it, just in other ways. Okay, so that corner is complete. Now we're going to chain 1 and do the same thing in the next corner space, that chain 1 space from the previous round. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then chain 1, and then 3 more double crochet in that space. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that corner is complete. Chain 1, and then work your next corner. So 3 double crochet, same thing. 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1, and then 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Straighten things out a bit if needed, and then we're going to work your last chain 1, and then we're going to join. So remember where we began? Count 3 chains up on that chain 3 at the beginning of the round, and just join with a slip stitch to close. Same thing we did before. Okay, and I think we have enough yarn to do one more round, so I'm going to show you how to do the next round as well, and then we'll probably be switching colors. Just getting this, again, when you use these yarn scraps, you'll run into tangles more often than not. Okay, so now it's a little bit different than the last round. We need to slip stitch over a little bit more than we had to before to get to the right spot. So just go in those stitches. I like to go into the back loops just so it's a little bit more camouflage, and then into the space to get yourself in the right spot. Okay, so now we're in the corner space. You always begin your granny squares in those corner spaces. Okay, so then what we're going to do is once again chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work that first corner. So work 2 more double crochet, because that chain 3 counts as one of our double crochets. Okay, and then chain 1, and then work 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that first corner is complete. Chain 1. So before, we've just done corners for all the rounds so far. Now we've approached a side. So the sides are worked slightly differently when you come to a side. Now as your granny square grows, you're going to have more and more sides. So the next round we do, I'll point out, you'll have 2 sides. So it'll be corner, right now it's corner, side, corner. The next round will be corner, side, side, corner. The next round will be corner, side, 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 corner, and so forth. That's how your granny square expands, okay? So I did a chain 1. Now let's work that side. So the sides are just 3 double crochet, chain 1, okay? 1, 2, and 3 double crochet, chain 1. Hop over to that next corner, work it the same exact way we've been doing. 3 double crochet, 2 and 3, chain 1, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1. And then we're at another side again. So once again, do 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. I'm at the very end of this yarn ball, and it's just wanting to tangle all over the place. Okay, now we're at a corner again. So once again, do 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. So that's 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and in the same space, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're going to hop over to the next side. So chain 1, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, it's looking very nice. We're almost out of yarn. So this is a fun thing too to see, can you get to the end of the round before the yarn runs out? If not, it's no big deal. I'm going to show you a little thing you can do if you happen to run out. Okay, so we're at a corner again. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then we got just a teeny bit of yarn left. I doubt we're going to get to the end. 1, 2, and 3. So this might happen from time to time. All right, so we did that. Now let's see if I can even join this. Join with a slip stitch to close the round. Can we do it? Can we do it? Yes. So barely. Okay, so we might want to add, I am just going to add a tiny little knot just to secure that. Okay, next. Now we learned how to switch, actually, I think it's holding pretty good, so I'm going to leave that alone. All right, I like to also, if you weave your ends in as you go along, you can, that center one that we did, you can trim that too. I like to trim mine as I go along. That way you don't have all this stuff hanging everywhere. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we learned how to start a new round without switching colors. We have this really beautiful navy blue square so far. Next, we're going to learn how to begin a new round with a new color. So I'm going to grab this really pretty aqua. Now, again, you're going to have all this yarn. Actually, you know what? I am going to do purple. The purple looks much more cooperative to me. So let's do that one. You may recognize this yarn from the spring crochet along from last year. Now, as you can see, the yarn weights are slightly different, but things are going to blend nicely. I did a little swatch earlier and things look pretty nice together. You can actually see the variation of weights, but you're also going to have variation of color, and this is a low stress kind of project. The other year-long project we have on Fiber Flux right now is the temperature shawl. I'll put the link down below for that if you haven't checked that project out. That's another low stress year-long project. So check that out if you haven't seen that yet. Okay, so I like to, every time I do a round of Granny Square, I like to kind of sharpen up my corners. So what you want to do to join a new color is to pick any corner you like, okay? It doesn't matter which. You don't have to necessarily start where you left off, like when you're sticking with the same color. So insert your hook into any corner. I'm just going to pick this one randomly. And then we're going to add the new yarn to our hook and pull it through. Now, to save yourself a lot of time after this project, try and weave your ends in as you go along. Okay, so tie the new yarn right on there, just like that. And we're just going to reach in with our hook, bring up a loop, and we're ready to begin the new round. So go ahead and begin it the same way. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I love this purple with this navy as a side note. Okay, then you're going to work 2 double crochets in that same corner space. 1 and 2, chain 1. I'm just going to grab a little bit more yarn. I have quite a bit of this purple. Okay, and then work 3 more double crochets into that corner space. Now I want to show you here behind the scenes, I'm holding this tail along the edge. See how I'm weaving it in with those stitches? That's going to save a lot of time and hassle at the end of this project, especially if you choose to make a very large granny square. Okay, so we're just working 3 more double crochets into that corner space as well. Now I mentioned in the last round that as you work each, and then chain 1, as you work each round of your granny square, you're going to add sides. So I just wanted to point out, see how this round we have 2 sides that we're going to work into, okay? And then the next round we'll have 3 sides and so forth. So to work the side, again, you'll want to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work 3 double crochet into the next side space, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1. Now we're at a corner. I'm going to take you to the end of this round, and then I'm going to show you what to do next when you're in the middle of a round and you run out of yarn, okay? So let's work our corner. 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. So that was 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then, whoops, and then 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have the side of our granny square completed. Let's do a chain 1, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into that first side we come to. 1, 2, 3, and as you can see, the end from our previous row, this teeny tiny short end, we can weave that in as we go along. So as you come to different ends along the way, just try to integrate them in the best you can. Okay, so I did a chain 1, and then we're going to do 3 double crochet into that side space. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1. Next corner, work it the same way. 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. Get a little bit more yarn. Using up that yarn, it's very exciting. Chain 1, and then 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Looking very pretty. Work the next side. 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. Now once again, because we're using all this scrap yarn, our yarn may not be on its best behavior, so we'll have to deal with this kind of stuff as we go. Probably a little more so than most projects, but it's all good. All right, chain 1, and then work that last corner, chain 3 double crochet, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets into that corner space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. All right, last side, and then we're gonna learn how to do one last thing before we depart here. So 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 1. This is the same as the last round. Again, you're just adding an extra side. Okay, so 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then you're going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. Now what I'm going to do is work the next round about halfway through, and then we'll rejoin, and I'm going to cut the yarn. I have quite a bit here, so it'll be quite a while before I could show you how to do this next one. But I am going to actually cut the yarn in the middle of the round and just kind of show you how I do. Because if you run out of yarn in the middle of a round, you know, no worries, you can just kind of tie it on and keep going. But I'm going to show you how to do that. So let me take you to the middle of the next round and then we'll rejoin and I'll show you how to do that part. Okay, so I took this about halfway around and now I'm going to just cut the yarn. So we're going to just pretend that we ran out of yarn. Okay? So then what we're going to do is grab another color. I'm just going to grab a random aqua here. Okay, so when you're ready to join it, you can just tie it together. Now make sure your tails aren't too short because you will want to weave those in later. This is just in the case where you have, it's almost like an emergency where you run out of yarn in the middle of the round. If you don't want to do that, if you don't like doing this in the middle of the round, you could always back up to the beginning of the round and just not worry about it. Just start at the beginning of the round. So what we're going to do is keep going. So eventually we're going to have this aqua. So I'm going to make my 3 double crochets. Now see, we're at that point. So grab your tails. So I have a tail here and a tail here, and just let them hang out the back for a moment. And 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. I'll see how we've gone from the purple to the aqua. Okay, and then you can just keep going and work the round as usual, like we've done before. Now, just as a side note, if you notice on this round, we've worked 3 sides. Okay, so you can just keep going with that aqua yarn until you're ready to switch colors again. Now again, if you really don't like doing this in the middle of a round, which is understandable, you can just, if you can't quite get all the way around, just back up and start over with some more yarn. But I am really determined to use every last bit of these scraps in this color palette. So I am going to just do whatever it takes to get rid of this yarn. So personal choice there, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm just working my granny square as I normally would. So on that note, we've learned how to switch colors in 3 different ways and switch yarns in 3 different ways. Or actually, let me rephrase that. Keep going with our round. So the first way we learned is to stick with the same color from round to round. The next way we learned is how to change color at the beginning of a round, and then we learned how to switch colors in the middle of a round. Now later on you can grab your tapestry needle. Now I could have woven this in as I went along too, but when you weave these in, I'm just going to show you really quick. Grab your tapestry needle, and when I'm working on big projects like this, I like to weave my ends in as I go, whether I have to do it with a tapestry needle or actually weaving them in as I showed you before. Okay, and then you can just do that. But did you notice I wove the aqua tail into the aqua section only, and then same thing for this purple. I'll just weave it into the purple section. Okay, so now that you've seen all of the scenarios of our Granny Stashdown project, you can keep going with your granny square as big as you would like it to be. I'm going to try and make a large throw blanket with mine. So I think I probably have enough yarn here. If not, I'll probably sort of peruse my yarn stash once again. So I am going to set up a thread in the Fiber Flux Ravelry Crochet Along group. I'll put the link down below for that. If you haven't joined us yet for a crochet along, definitely hop over to that group. It's a great place. We have all the previous crochet alongs that we've done on there, but also the current other one that I have going on, the temperature shawl. So you can check that out as well. That's a wonderful place to share your work. You can ask questions, you can get help. It's a wonderful community, and there's a lot of wonderful people in there that are willing to jump in and kind of help out. It's also a great place to show maybe the yarn that you've picked for this project and the progress of your granny square as well. Again, if you have a favorite square, we'd love to see it as well. All of your color palettes that you're choosing, or if you're just making it completely random and seeing what comes out, that's also a lot of fun as well. So check that out. Check out our Ravelry Crochet Along group. That's a great group for projects like this. And have fun with your granny square, and share in the comments below if you have colors picked out. What are your colors going to be? Or are you just going to fill up a basket of yarn like I did? One more thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be updating, because this is a year-long project, I'm going to be updating throughout the year, and probably once a season, just to show you the progress. And I hope that you'll share some photos on social media and in the Ravelry group that we have for crochet alongs as well. So that is the 2018 Fiber Flux Granny Stashdown Challenge. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.